Hello community, I am back with isolation inspiration today. So 3 things for you to keep you connected with the Hampton Manor Story and to keep you thinking and inspired in this period of lockdown. So yesterday we were meeting the Hill family. We met Sally, Lorraine, Lisa, and we looked back a little bit at Frederick Peel's life at Hampton Manor, building the manor house in 1855 and going on to finish his vision for the estate in 1891, building the wall garden. So Frederick Peel is a big part of our story, and we'll get to know a little bit more about his life over the coming weeks. And finally, yesterday we talked about Gran Cerdo again. I'm not laying down the Gran Cerdo yet. We're still talking about Gran Cerdo, and we talked about how it was a living wine and what a living wine means. And so today we're going to go on to 3 new things for you as a community. And being a Sunday, we as a family have just finished our church service, which was very unusual because we put it on the big screen in our living room, and people from all around the city beamed into our virtual church service. But a big part of our family life is faith. And actually, faith came to our family much later in life than many families. Mum and Dad were much older, and my sisters were all at university, and I was the youngest at 10 years old. I was a little mistake in our family. I came along a little bit later. But my sister Lorraine came to faith at university and realised that there was something more to life. And she had been searching for that, and it was at university that she met a Christian that helped her understand who Jesus was and how he had changed the world. And her encounter of God, an encounter of Jesus, was so real for her that she came home with an energy and a passion around her faith that was really infectious. And one by one, my whole family followed her decision to begin following Jesus and learning more about who he was and what he had to say about life. And really, Christianity isn't complicated, and it certainly isn't as religious as some people think. I spent this week just watching Our Planet with our kids and looking at what David Attenborough has uncovered in terms of the impact that we as humanity have had on the world. And I think we can all accept that something in our story as a people has gone wrong. And Our Planet really brought that to life and to light. So we were looking at that with the kids and just reflecting on what's gone wrong with how we have failed to care for the world and look after it in a sustainable way. And I think that is really the heart of God's story in the Bible. It's a story of how God's relationship with us and our relationship with the world has gone wrong, and how Jesus has come as part of being able to bring some restoration and renewal to some of the problems that we face. And as we have followed Jesus, we've learned much more about that good news and that hope. And we continue passionately in our faith as a family every day. That doesn't mean we get it all right, and you as a community will have seen us at our best and most certainly at our worst. But Christianity isn't saying that we are the people in the right, the people that do everything right. In fact, it's saying almost the opposite. Christianity is a story about how we're in the wrong, and actually we've got it wrong. And it's a journey back. And in that journey back to God and to the balance that the world needs, we continue to make lots of mistakes in our relationships with each other, lots of mistakes in our relationship with God, lots of mistakes in how we look after the earth. But it's a journey back, and it's a choice to turn away from some of the ways that are unhealthy in our lives and to begin to try and find ways that bring life and help us recover what it means for mankind to flourish. So that's a big part of our family life, Faith is a huge part, and you're always welcome, and we're open to share our story around faith. The door is always open. It's something we take great joy in, is sharing our story. So please know that you're welcome to always have those conversations with us. So that's another part of our family story. And a second thing to tell you today is about the Peel family again. I wanted to jump back actually to Robert Peel and tell you about the Corn Laws, because the Corn Laws are a fascinating part of the family story for the Peels. They recognised in the world that many things had gone wrong, and the Peel family joined the effort to see the Corn Laws abolished. The Corn Laws basically made it very difficult for people to import grain and wheat into the UK, and it allowed the landowners in the UK to charge much higher prices and profiteer out of their production of corn and therefore the production of bread. And this was hurting the people in the factories, the people on the minimum wage, the people in the cities that had very little money. And Robert Peel was determined to turn the Corn Laws around, and he joined the effort, and as Prime Minister he had the Corn Laws abolished against huge opposition from his own party. But Peel was a social reformer, and he had a deep care about the injustice that he saw in the world. So the story of the Corn Laws is really worth reading, and I encourage you to jump into the internet and have a little bit of a look at Robert Peel and his effort to abolish the Corn Laws. Finally, I wanted to tell you something about our food and wine philosophy. And as we've been talking over the last few days, we've talked about how Gran Cerdo is a real representation of the natural wine movement. I just want you to understand why a few years ago I realised the natural wine movement was so important to our philosophy at Hampton Manor. After many years of thinking about our food and having advice from the Michelin Guide and from Derek Bulmer, who did some consultancy with us, the former editor of the Michelin Guide, I grew in my conviction and understanding of food that the greatest thing about food is when we treat the ingredients with respect, and we allow the flavors and the purity of the ingredients to come to the fore. And as Rob and I listened to feedback from Derek Bulmer on Rob's cooking, Rob really was the first chef that in our history that got the food to the place it needed it to be to win a Michelin star. Michelin are after something really clear. They want to see the ingredient on the plate shining through. They don't want it to be masked with overly complex dish construction or lots of different little things on the plate that actually distract from the core ingredients. They want good meat that's come from good farms where the animals have been looked after and you can taste that in the meat. They want good vegetables where there's a real life in the soil where they've been grown, and that you can see that on the plate, that the flavors are clear and strong. And they want a chef that doesn't mess about with the ingredients. And that is basically the essence of the natural wine movement. The chef and the winemaker are very, very similar and interchangeable. Basically, the winemaker in the natural wine movement is like the chef, and their job is not to mess about with the main ingredient, the grapes that they've lovingly tended in their vineyard. They want the fruit to come through. They want it to have a purity and a clarity to it so that the wine in the bottle reflects where it's come from. And in our kitchen, we want the same philosophy and the same approach. We want our food to have a purity to it, a focus to it, a clarity to it. We want our sauces and our meats and our purees to taste of what we say they should taste of and nothing else. So that's why you see increasingly in our food a level of focus and a level of clarity in the dishes that we put together. I hope that helps you understand a little bit of why we embrace the natural wine movement, how it relates to our food. And I'll be back tomorrow with some more isolation inspiration and 3 more things about our family story, about the Peels and the estate, and about our food and wine philosophy. I look forward to seeing you then.